still lynch you, but he did, and he lasted. I think he lasted about a week and a half.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the West Ham Network for your West Ham Daily. We are live, so keep your comments coming in and we will address your comments a couple of days after West Ham getting beat from Everton at Goodison Park. Not a great performance, not a great day at the office. It's not really been a great season so far, has it? What a contrast to last season as well. But like I said, always keep your comments coming in. We will go through them as much as we can. Let me just... what was I going to say to you? So, yeah, how are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about it? Like I said, put your comments in and we'll go through them as well. We'll go through the ratings. I understand we didn't do any shows on Monday, so we paid our respects. That's what we did. So we're bringing them to you today. So gives us a good chance to dissect it later on for the Hammers headlines. I do a little bit more in-depth analysis on individual players and you know the way that West Ham played and how we set up and what was going wrong and what was going right, if at all anything was going right. I think there were some positives to take, but not many, and they came laterally in the game rather than early in the game, which is where we really need to make it count because we're really struggling in that department. So, but if you are new around here, then hit that subscribe button. Please do that. That helps us out to get towards 20,000 subscribers. Hit the bell notification. If you hit that bell notification, you will then get notified when our shows do go live, and that is a key element of doing the subscription part as well. Leave a comment, give us your honest feedback. Listen, thick-skinned, we can take it, whether you like it or not. Whether, you know, just be honest with us and let us know your honest feedback. Hit the thumbs up on the channel as well if you're enjoying the content. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, you can click on the membership option. That will then obviously give you access to some other things on the channel as well. I'm going to jump into the chat before we get started on the ratings for today, and we can obviously get carried on with what your opinions are. Hammerhead's in the house straight away, straight in there. He's gone Moyes out. I am not there, Hammerhead. I am not there, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion, of course. Good morning, all. God be with you. Moyes wants his offensive players to be jack of all trades. Unfortunately, because of the energy output required, they end up masters of none. This is from Audi. I think there's an element of your comment I agree with and an element of your comment I don't agree with. But yeah, like I said, we're all entitled to their own opinion. Are there early signs of Moyes losing the confidence and respect of his players? I watched Rice the entire game. His body language is not positive. He wants more forward intensity from Creswell. I actually think there's an element of that is true. Join me at 5 o'clock where you'll see me going in depth. In particular, I talk about Declan Rice's body language and his positioning and his mindset as well. Audi saying, after studying Moyes for some period, taking note of team selections, team tactics and shape, I have concluded that he rates Ndivia away above any other attribute or facet of the game. Yep. Not saying he won't be successful, but Moyes appears to have one way of skinning a cat. Happy Hammerette. Good to see you. Hope you are well. Afternoon on Happy Chappies. Yep, you can say that again. Hi, everyone from Cross Hammer. Ludders is in the house. Good to see you too. Hi, Happy. Ludders. Hi, Helen. Afternoon, Anton. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Stephen Bund. Nice to see you too, mate. Thank you for joining us. James Bond. Good afternoon, chaps. Chapettes. Unhappy Hammerettes. There you go. There's a rhyme for you and a half. Cross Hammer. Hi, Stephen. Hi, afternoon all. What's the beef today? What's going on? Peter's in the house. I've had my bath. I've had my Iron Brew shower, mate, so you don't have to worry there. Happy Emirates. I have a horrible feeling that many of the players are changing their attitudes to Moyes. New signings, not happy, not being started. A few informed players fed up with playing alongside out-of-form ones as well. Yeah, I can see that, but I'll talk about it in a second. Anton, what's good? Nothing much. Peter saying, you just know if he's still manager, he will start with exactly the same team against Wolves. I think that's what he can't do. That's what he really like. You give the benefit of the doubt to people sometimes, but you just cannot do that again because what possesses someone to put out the same team in the second half when you get nothing, and I mean nothing in the first half because we didn't give anything to show positivity, and we didn't show any real grace in the game at all. So No, it can't happen against Wolves. It really can't happen, Peter. Crosshammer, I just had an hour's chat with my son, and we come to the conclusion that Moyes is doing this on purpose. I think people call that stubborn then, don't you? I don't know. A lot of people have called him stubborn for a while, but I get confused at why some of the decisions, some of the team selections are there. When the team was announced against Everton, I was trying my best to be positive. But I think deep inside, there was always that element of like, why are you not starting with specific players? Scarborough, big changes needed if we progress this season. I can't believe how low we are running for on the running stats and possession. It's huge. It's what a contrast to last season and the season before. Moyes is going to have to be brave with his lineup, otherwise he'll have to go. Moyes is clueless, totally clueless. Sooner we get a replacement ready, the better. Line someone up for our next 2 games. Still seething. Ralph, I just don't think it's the right time at all to even particularly... I get it. You're entitled to your opinion, but I just don't think it is. I think he's done enough for West Ham to give him enough time. Sometimes I don't want us to bite the bullet and get stung like we did the last time. We can't all forget the Pellegrini situation, and I'm really concerned that we would try and do that and try and better ourselves too quick. It is a transitional period, and I think we have to be mindful of the fact that a transitional period takes time. And it doesn't look great. And as long, I don't know, like, what would you accept? And this goes back to that conversation. Would you accept top 10, bottom 10, but we win a cup or something like that? It's just trying to find that, fine-tune exactly what it is we want. We want West Ham to progress. Of course we do. We want us to keep progressing, moving forward. But we've signed 8 brand spanking new players, albeit, possibly 8 potentially new starters. But you throw 8 new starters into the team, then look what's happening at Nottingham Forest with these when they start loads and loads of new players. The biggest issue probably comes when we didn't bring 2 or 3 of these players back in January to the club, because they would have had time to gel and now they'd be ready to rock and roll for this season. So it's going to take time to adjust. This is why this little break now, the international break, is so vital, because we play 9, 10, 11, 13 football matches in a row before the World Cup break starts as well. Trev in Cape Town and Moyes time nearly up. The next 2 games will tell. I do agree the three games are probably vital as well. Need to see Fornals next to Rice. No more Soucek. Ralph, Peter, we know he will. Jan Phillips, good to see you. Afternoon, everyone. Good to see you too. It's simple. Moyes only plays one way always. He will always be bought the wrong players this summer. Paqueta is not Fellaini, Scamacca, and it's not Cahill. Kieran, good to see you, my friend. Got a feeling Moyes doesn't want to transition with the players he's got. Yep, I get that. Kieran, just while you're here, there's going to be a return of another show coming back to the channel, Gifted the Gap. Keep your eyes peeled for tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I won't say anything else. But Kieran, wink, wink. In Moyes we trust, take us down. Happy Amaret. I sense maybe they don't want to play under Moyes anymore from the performances we're having. I'm not Moyes out yet, but he needs to play our best players and drop others for the sake of points. I'm going to bring you on in a second, Mr. You-know-who. Looking at the league fixtures up to the break for the World Cup, there is not one game you can be confident of winning under Moyes. Morning, I hear the Moyes crowds. But I wouldn't do anything until after the World Cup. He can turn this around. Stephen Yap, Moyes is about to ruin another striker. Scamacca already looks disheartened already on Happy Hammer today. Stephen Bund, Moyes got a new signing in too late. Paul, good venting show Sunday. I was right there with you, blowing a gasket myself. Thank your pops for taking me off the talking me off the bridge. I know it's tough. I think my dad was nudging me, actually. He was nudging me when we were talking. And I think his nudge was to go, take time to compute what you've watched before you ramble. I think what he was actually saying was, when we came off the stream, he actually said, it's easy for you to go on and absolutely terrorize a decision that's been made. But that makes for good potential, makes for good viewing. But that's not what I think about when I do these shows. But what he's saying to me is, take your time to compute it, because you'll end up saying something you regret, or you're saying something you don't want to do. So if I was just constantly thinking of the YouTube channel, I'd be throwing up the rants that we're sitting here doing all the left, right, and centre. But I want to take time to compute the decision. Yes, we did a review after the game. Yes, I was a bit pissed off. But I can appreciate Dad there being a level-headed guy, just nudging me, going, take your time, son. Take your time, son. So, yeah, absolutely. Happy have you seen it's been allowed to go for free in January? Yeah, you're talking about Lanzini. Do you know what? I'll just bring you on. Why not? I mean, you could be sitting here waiting all day. So let's bring Mr. Lucky Boy on. De Gea, how you doing, my man?
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Listen, I mean, there's so many comments in here, right? There's a ridiculous amount of comments, and I will get through them as well. But we are going to be doing the ratings for the game in Everton. But summarize it, just if you can, summarize it, not in Stato style, but in De Gea style.
Frustrating. I think everyone can agree it's frustrating. There's a comment there that just come up that's just saying that the players aren't playing for Moyes. I'm not totally on that. I don't think he's lost the players. I think that he's lost himself a little bit. I think he's gone a bit sort of. He's into what do they call it when they call it factory setting mode, or where the computer backs itself up to like a defense mechanism where it doesn't go, it can't upgrade, but it just stays where it is. Look, Ben Rama hit the post from 20 yards out. Cornet had a shot saved by the keeper. If both of those goals go in, that's 2-1, and that's us getting 3 points at the end of the day. I'm willing to give him time because I think in the past he said he's educated himself and he's become a better coach over the years, which for the last 2 years I think he has. And it's just at the minute it's in a bit of a downward spiral. So if he can pick himself up out of that and somehow get the team changing around and performing better at least, then I'm sure we can all feel better about the situation in some ways.
There's a lot of fans though. Like, I mean, I personally, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, of course, but you know, myself and you were on Claret and Booze on the night of the game. I can't even remember when it was, Sunday night, and you know, and I appreciate people have definitely got their own opinion in terms of Moyes out, Moyes in, who would you want? I'm just really scared of being bitten twice again, you know, by going out there trying to sign this top manager on paper and coming to the club and it doesn't work out. And we can see how quickly things can change. I mean, we've had 2.5 quality seasons, but you know, and I know it's not been great in the Premier League since November. We're going on 10 months of Premier League average football, but that coincided alongside a fantastic European campaign that will go down in history as West Ham fans will ever see. And you know, look, I say to you at the start of the season and every season, what would you accept? Do you want an FA Cup? Do you want a cup win and finish in the bottom 10? Most West Ham fans I know would accept the cup win and sitting in the bottom 10. Of course, you want to see progressions, but we were given that last year, so that's why the success is there. My concern then would become that we're literally 7 games into the season, and some fans are absolutely fucking distraught. I mean, I'm distraught because I want us to be winning on the league and I want us to be progressing up the league, but I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it?
I do understand it because the Premier League's so cutthroat that, you know, 1 week you're a hero, the next you're a villain, and that can change very quickly. But the interesting thing, I think, I didn't see it, but I've seen it on Facebook. Alan Shearer made a point about the Arsenal game of the weekend against Brentford, when they won 3-0, I think it was. And you coincide that with Arsenal's defeat on the opening day to Brentford last season, where they lost 2-0. And the differences between both clubs and how they played and how they progressed is startling. And we've kind of, in a way, we've got the opposite of that now. Where we had such a good season last season. Okay, we spiraled off in the Premier League, but we had a good end to it in the Europa League. Just didn't get far enough, unfortunately. But I think, you know, I know you're worried about being stung with getting a new big manager in and getting Moyes out and stuff like that. There is a problem, the fact that unless you're a conspiracy theorist, these players aren't completely Moyes, and they've brought them in for someone bigger to come in, like potentially Pochettino or something like that. Because Pellegrini come in and all the players were his. They were all his from the start. He brought in all the players that, you know, he was the one that had the checkbook for himself. Whereas this guy won't be. He'll still have a talented squad on his hands. It won't be like when, you know, if Moyes just turned up again. So I can understand. So look, some fans, they live, eat, breathe, sleep West Ham. Right, this their whole life. So, you know, we're like many of us, we all do the same thing. We all love West Ham intently. There will be some knee jerking out there. There will be some people saying that they don't want to go through this anymore. And I can completely understand both sides. I can understand those that want him out. I can understand those that want to keep him in. I don't want him out purely because I don't want to feel like I'm doing the same old thing again, where I'm going, right, it's not worked out for like 5-6 games, I want to get a new manager in. And then when the new manager comes in, doesn't work out for 5-6 games, I want another manager in. So you can be wary of that, but I understand where they're coming from. The only thing I would say is that who do people want in? because there are a few managers hanging about out there. But look, let's face it, on the shape of things, David Moyes only come back to West Ham because A, he was desperate, and B, he wanted a chance to prove himself. And also, our owners are notoriously hard to work with. We're with Moyes because he's willing to work with it. He was willing to work with our owners. He probably still is, to be honest with you. But how many big names are going to go, I want to work under Golden Sullivan? How many coaches? Did Stuart Pearce really leave because he wanted to live closer to home, or did he leave because he couldn't work under the management system anymore? You know, what other reasons behind the scenes? I don't think really that the owners have changed their stripes. I think they've spent a lot of money, but it doesn't particularly mean they'll be any easier to deal with for a top class manager who might want to spend 200 million again next year.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, because we've got this season has been feeling stop-starty because we've had players that obviously were injured or missing in terms of Scamacca. We had a game cancelled, all that sort of stuff. We're doing that kind of transition period, blah, blah, blah. People don't like hearing about the transition period. But for me, it's kind of where I'm at. But the situation is that, you know, we've got an opportunity now to change it up. And if we come up against Wolves, look, and we've got the same team and we don't get a result, especially against a struggling Wolves who aren't scoring goals. And then we've got a run of games that on paper we should be challenging for something, or if we want to keep progressing as a club, we need to challenge in those games. But if we don't in those starting lineups, and we've now put ourselves in that situation where people have got their eye on West Ham in a negative manner, got their eye on Moyes in a negative manner, and if we then hit a bad run of form, then of course you put yourself on a pedestal for the wrong reasons. And that is where we're at. So if we then go 3 or 4 games with losses and nothing's changing, then I maybe am more.
Yes. I think he has to go.
Maybe, at that point, I think then, well, something's definitely not right. You know, we've only got 2 goals in the Premier League this season. Look, I think we've tried 6 different formations in the league, and we're still not sure. Yeah, and
news to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've actually think I've got them here. Let me see.
I've only got about 10 minutes left, mate. So
no, that's fine. No worries. It's fine. I took an image of it, and I've
made a toasted banana sandwich. I think which is going colder and colder the longer this goes on. But I did say come on. So
it's fine. You don't have to. Maybe you can go for your lunch. Don't you worry.
No, it's fine. I'll just I'll take opportunity I can get at the minute.
I think the issue we've got here is it's just about what will Moyes do to counter what's gone on so far this season. His press conference, post-press conference wasn't great. There was a lot of blame put on his current crop of players that's been reliable for him over the last few seasons. But something needs to change up because at 5 o'clock I've done a full-blown analysis on the game and I've brought up images, and I think that some of the substitutes that didn't start have no reason not to start. They really don't. And I see people digging out a bit of Paqueta and digging out a little bit of Scamacca, but Paqueta is a particular player that needs other players around them. And if you play in that defensive manner and you've got static players in front of you, you're going to have problems. And if you rewatch the game back, the first half in particular, look, you mentioned it. Do you remember the game against Swansea where we won, but we never won convincingly? What do you remember about that campaign? What do you remember about the campaign after it? We were static in our approach going forward. We never ran. We never gave options, but we've got players on the bench. As soon as they come on, they gave options, and we were showing signs of no options at the first half against Everton. Yeah. So there you go. So should we get on to the ratings then? Shall we start doing the ratings while we've got you for 10 minutes?
Yeah, no worries.
Right. So keep your comments in the comments. Keep your comments coming in, obviously, and we'll give you a chance to put your ratings in as well. But before we start, we do have potentially a ex-Hammer, a very well-known ex-Hammer coming in to the channel on Thursday evening. So keep your eyes on it. Scotland international, played for West Ham, played for Liverpool, played for Everton. I'm trying to think else. Sunderland, was it? Sunderland, maybe as well. You do know, you've seen the chat. I'm not sure.
I'll give it away.
Yeah. I don't know if I should give it away, but I might not yet. So let's get started, though. Fabianski, mate. What do you think on the old Fabianski?
I'll give him I tend to be too generous with ratings, so I'm going to try and give this a steady one. I think if I give him what I think it is, people say, "Oh no, that's way too high." So I'm going to give him a 6. I think he made a good save against Damari Gray where he held the ball rather than palming it out. It was really close to him, and it was quite a hard shot, and he saved it. But then there's a lot of people who are saying he was quite slow to get down for Maupai's goal, which I think it put, in my opinion, Zuma and Kera were both slow to close him down. So that's the goal that cost us the game at the end of the day. So yeah, he didn't have a brilliant game, but he didn't have a terrible game either, in my opinion. So yes,
yeah, I agree with you. You know, I think, like you said, he made one good stop from Damari Gray, and I think he would be disappointed at the goal from Maupay, a mixture of the defense and him, because it wasn't like it was a thunderbolt shot. You know,
No.
It wasn't right in the corner. It was a routine. To me, it was maybe like one of those kind of routine saves that maybe he would expect to save, and that's why he would be disappointed. But apart from that, he really wasn't a busy man in the game, and that's why I've given him, and I agree with you, a 6 as well.
Yeah.
James Bong has given him a 7.
I was going to give him 7, but I thought that might be too generous.
Yeah, I think it probably is, if I'm being brutally honest, for me personally, because
James, you're wrong.
what's James done?
7.
Audi's saying we need Psycho back in the shower. Bowen isn't glowing. We'll come on to that in a second. Bowen, Soucek, and
Bowen isn't
Sefali
glowing. That's the new one.
Play Cornet, Downs, and Doss, or Oggy with Kira right back. That's a start, in my opinion. Yeah, I probably agree with some of that elements. Moyes needs to change. I watched Benitez on Sky this morning. He said he's learned from his mistakes in Prem football has changed.
So it just sounds like Moyes.
God. Right, hold on a minute. Where are we? Fabs gets a 7 from James. I'd say 3 at the back and trust the current defence. Usual suspects gives you the thumbs up. 47% of people in the chat gave it a 6. Gave Fabianski a 6. Luthers is saying Fabs gets a 6. Sam's Gaming gives him a 5. Sharky gives him a 6. Audi gave him a 6 as well. Scott is not happy. Watch the next games when Fab starts. Count the passes that our players have a chance of winning. That will lower your rating as well. Right, let's move on to the next player, Vladimir Sefal. I mean, look at my top there. I mean,
I know.
But for me, look, he's still got a place in the squad.
Right.
He's still got a place in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Well, I'm gutted the way it's gone for him and Soucek. I mean, they started off being the warrior boys, the ones who wouldn't stop training and trying to get into the ground when the training ground was locked and stuff like that. So mentality-wise, they've been fantastic since they've been at the club. He's been a complete warrior as a right back. But this season, I know he's come back from his injury. He reckons he's got no injury problems at all. But he's playing like he's got one because he can't cross the ball anymore. He can't beat the first man whatsoever. The defence, the opposition just aren't worried about him because every time he gets the ball, no one's going to close him down because they know he's not going to do anything with the ball. And the worst thing for him at the weekend was when he tried to take a free kick, and it was probably one of the worst free kicks I've ever seen any West Ham player take. I don't know if he's being used as an auxiliary right wing back because he can't play there anymore. Something's gone wrong with him and Soucek, and it's like the pair of them have just decided to just not have a clue how to kick a ball this year, and it's really sad. I'm not angry at him. I'm not disappointed. It's just sad.
Yeah, he's lost something. He's lost a bit of pace. Interesting stats for you. I mean, it's not interesting. It's not nice to bring them up, but 66% success rate in passes. He was only accurate from 2 long ball passes out of 8 attempts. He didn't make a successful cross in the game from 4 attempts. He won 6 from 11 ground duels. He only won 50% of his aerial duels, but this is probably one of the most concerning stats here. He lost the ball 28 times in the game from his position. 28 times. That's really a high amount of times for one of your wing back to be losing the ball. And I think that's why we need to quickly address this situation, because Damari Gray got man of the match because they attacked Sefal's side, left, right, and centre. Let's jump into the chat. Oh, well, hold on a minute. Let's see what I
forgot about that.
Yeah, go for it. What did you give him?
I'm going to be really horrible here and say 3.
3. Right,
yeah.
Listen, I've actually given him, I'll tell you what I've given him, and I actually feel like I should probably drop it, if I'm being honest, because it really wasn't one of his best performances, so I do apologise for this one. I've given him a 5.
I knew you would.
I love Sefal, but if you start off, say, a game at 5, then you play okay, you start to work up. You play worse, you start to work your way back down. So I probably shouldn't have given him a 5. So I'll be honest there. I'm not rating him a 5. I should have given him a 4 from there moving forwards. No one deserves over a 5. Scarborough Hammer says Sefal 4, 2 for Sefal. Artel 4, Sharky 4, Ludger 6. Gaiman's giving him a 7. James Farmer's giving him a 3. Narky gives him a 6. Peter's giving him a 3. James Bong gives him a 7. Quite mental, but anyway.
Everyone's getting the 7 from James Bong.
We need Mark Noble back in the dressing room.
I don't agree with that.
28 times did he get the ball that often? Sack Moyes and tell him to take Fabianski with him. 65% of the chat gave Vlad a 5. I mean, personally, I'm changing mine, but I would have given him a 4. So there you go. Let's move on to the next player, though. Thilo Kehrer. I've been impressed with him in his West Ham career so far. I think he's taken his time to adapt to the current setup with West Ham. I think he's built up a really good partnership with Kurt Zouma, but I think that the problems we're having out wide are causing him a lot of concern. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, with the goal, he was maybe a little bit slow. We anticipated that Zouma would try and close Maupay down before we got the shot in. Shouldn't have been allowed that time to turn and put the shot away. But Kehrer's been very good in a poor West Ham side. That's something that I would say. He's young, and you can tell why he's in the Germany team as much as he is. I think if we were performing at a better level, and we had a formation as well that suited him, like a modern football formation, like 3 at the back, for example, he would flourish. People would see just how good he can be. At the minute, we're almost stifling him. We're holding him back a little bit, I believe. But for what he's got, there's been a few clips on Twitter, the triangles we tried to play in defence, and Everton just pressurised us and won the ball off us. No one was particularly brilliant in those segments. But something about him is that he's got a captain ability where he will tell players, go here, go there, watch this man, watch that man. So it's unfortunate we're not playing at tip-top condition, because I think he would have been one of the best defenders in the league if we had been. But yeah, he's been good in a poor West Ham defence, shall we say?
I think he's been.
I'd say 5 for me, 5, and I would give him 6. But the goal from Maupay shouldn't have given him time to turn around. So
I think he's been a breath of fresh air in the back line, but he is potentially our very quick successor out on the right hand side. He's got pace to come back if a ball gets past him. He's got the ability to play the ball, which he's very good at doing. Again, I get it. We should have got a bit closer to Maupay. Zouma and Rice were there as well, though, so it could be a big blame for.
I'm not blaming him. I'm saying that triangle, but I think potentially if Dawson was fit again, you could have Dawson and Zouma as the centre backs. So a bit slow, but then Kehrer's right back, like you were pointing out just then.
I think what that does then is that tries to solidify our defence very quickly, with the aim that when Aguerd is fit, Aguerd slots into that position in the centre back and takes over with him. No, that's fine. Look, on you go, mate.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy. Have a good day. See you later, boys.
Ciao for now. There you go. So I'm on my own. That's fine. We'll just carry on as normal. But I think for me, to solve this problem would be bringing Dawson in temporarily alongside Zouma, and then pushing Kehrer out to the right-hand side. And then you've got the pace out there on the right-hand side. Yes, I agree with Luke. A bit slow through the middle, slow in the uptake through the middle. But that's something that we can work on, especially when we bring Aguerd back into the team. So I personally gave Kehrer potentially a harsh score here, because I did rate him the same as Sefal, but I've actually dropped Sefal's marker, and I've given Kehrer a 5, borderline 6 maybe, but I'll stick with the 5. Kehrer wasn't bad at all. A 7. Kehrer a 7. Alan Dunn a 6. Arch Barley a 7. Sharky a 7. Artel a 6. James Bong an 8. 7 for Thilo. Could have closed him down. 8. Sam's Gaming, loads of hammers. Audi says 6 to 7. I couldn't watch the game, only highlights, so I'm refraining from the vote. Also glad I didn't watch it. Don't blame you. He's okay, but Rice is trying to cover him constantly. Kehrer is a successful buy so far. Kehrer a 7. Crosshammer, it was painful to watch. Believe me, why can't Moyes link the fact that Kehrer is up to speed in the Prem after being introduced straight away? Good point. We can all see Kehrer as right back. Expect Moyes and what we all saying. 50% of people gave Kira a 7. There you go. It wasn't good enough. You're lucky you didn't see it. I say again, Everton's goal was good. Don't take credit away, blaming defensive players. Budgie's in the house. Budgie, you haven't seen it, but yeah, I know it's brutal. But tomorrow evening, we're relaunching a very famous show that we used to run called Gift of the Gab. Keep your eyes on it. It will be an official launch, so I'm not bringing you anything else. Just a hint, hint, wink, wink, Kieran and Budgie. Just a hint, hint, wink, wink. Right, let's move on to the next player. Kurt Zouma. What do you think of Kurt Zouma? He was given a midweek rest against Silkeborg, especially being on the artificial pitch. And he was back in the starting side to reunite with his partnership with, of course, Thilo Kehrer. And they've obviously been forming quite a good partnership so far in the league, or just genuinely together. And he was reasonably solid at the back, kind of predominantly dealt with any aerial threat moving forward on the park. He had the best chance of the first half with that looping header with the flick on. But again, I actually, this scoreline I'm giving to Zouma is, in my opinion, justified more than Kehrer. I actually think Kehrer had a better game than Zouma, because I actually feel like several times in the game Zouma wasn't marking up. And I think there's a bit of a miscommunication between Zouma and Rice, because you see Rice drop deep heavily quite a lot in the game. And actually, I find that Zouma was sometimes marking not a single player. And if they had just pushed up a little bit, then there would have been that support over on the right-hand side for Vladimir Safal. But I personally gave Zouma a 5. Harsh, but I think it's justified. Join me at 5 o'clock. You'll see why I say that. I am brutal. Alan Dunn gives him a 7. Sam's given him a 6. Scarborough Hammer's given him a 6. Artel has given him a 6. Ralph says 6 to 7. Moyes, gift of the cab. Hammerhead gives him a 6. Usual Suspect has given him a 6. Sharky gave him a 6. 57% of the chat gave Zouma a 6. Better than Ernie. I'm not saying anything. Wink, wink. Catman 5 always limping. Budgie gave Zouma a 6. Zuma's centre backs mark space. There you go. So Richard Stephen gives him a 6 as well, and Anton gives him a 5. Harsh score it is. Let's move on to Aaron Creswell. He provided an assist for Craig Dawson on his 300th appearance for the club against Silkeborg on Thursday evening, and he kept his place in the side against Everton. He moved out to left back, having played as a wide centre back midweek, which he really does suit, if I'm being brutally honest. He did okay defensively. He attempted swinging crosses as and where possible. He attacked well, I thought, down the left hand side, but he was taken off late on. But for me, he was one of the better players in the back line, because none of the really deadly threats came down from his side. So I actually thought he had one of our better games. He was trying to get forward. He was trying to take the game to Everton, but there was just a static forward line moving forward from there. That's why I've rated him higher than any of the other defenders in there and given him a 6. I don't think he deserves any more than a 6. You're entitled to your own opinion as well, but I actually thought I thought Creswell stepped up to the game in the game. James Farmer saying Cres gets a 4. Magic Hat 5, Cres 5, Budgie gives him a 6. Usual Suspect says no cohesion in the team, they're playing like 11 strangers. Richard Stevens gives him a 5. James Bond gives him a 7. SDS Gaming, Sam Damon Gaming, gives him a 5. Scarborough says Creswell gets a bad rap because of 2 mistakes last season. He was solid yesterday. I agree, that's why I've put him up there with that one as well. Happy I'm right. I actually think Cressy and Antonio have played better with competition in. Artel Cressy 6. Bert gets a 6. Dawson looks like the only player who really wants to commit himself at corners. Kevin, good to see you. I hope you're well. It says it takes time to adjust. How can Moyes do that if he does not play them? You're right. Alan Dunn gave him a 5. 50% of the chat gave Cressy a 5 as well. Peter is saying Cressy gets a 6. Creswell gets a 5 despite assist. Only player safe, protected constantly. There you go. A lot of people think he's one of the favourites from David Moyes. What do you think? Put it in the comments. Next up, Declan Rice, the main man, for me, was one of the better players on the park, obviously, if not the best player for West Ham. He battled really hard, and I think he was potentially let down by a lot of other players in and around him. And I think he got really frustrated in the game, and we really need to watch the mentality of our players, especially our better players, because Soucek wasn't performing and he was getting so frustrated with the players in and around him. And at some points, which is not great, especially coming from your captain, you could see he was getting angry, getting frustrated, and sometimes it was a bit like, oh, I'm going to give up. I'm not saying he was saying he was going to give up, but I think in the second half in particular, with the right subs, I think he would flourish under some of the players that we've brought into the club that are not starting the games. And I think that's definitely having an effect on players like Declan Rice. So based upon that, I gave him a 7. I think he was getting the most glowing score, and therefore he's my, I don't want to give a player man of the match because we don't really deserve it. But if we had to choose one, he gets the best performance there for the day as well. 7 from Sam SD Gaming. Sharky gives Rice a 7. Budgie gives him a 7. Richard Stevens. Where's that comment gone? There it is there. 6, wasn't effective as usual, but he was a marked man. Rice 7.5. Artel says 7 to 8. Rice lets his frustration show instead of rocketing them. Artel, you've hit the nail on the head. He absolutely does. His frustration is so visual on the park that it has a little negative impact. And it's only when we make substitutions and we progress that he kicks into gear. And that's what he needs to be able to manage. Definitely needs to be able to manage that. It's a good way of analogy from it. 7 from Rice, but needs to use his captaincy to get up the players. 100%. 100%. Rice 7, always positive, and Soucek massively hinders his game, especially keeping the ball. Need Downs in there to rotate the ball better. I think I've got to agree with you. 41% of the chat gave Rice a 6. 7 from Ralph, surrounded by amateurs with the good ones being benched or played out of position. Rice 6, off-field stuff affecting his game. 7 for Rice, still not himself, but having his first child can't be easy. So Dunham, yeah, true, absolutely. Like me, Rice is frustrated as well. So there you go. Let's move on to his counterpart, Tommy Soucek. He's been really recently, you could say, struggling with a minor foot injury. He was joint top goal scorer for West Ham in the Premier League. Several seasons ago. He passed that ball that he passed back was a ridiculous ball that he played back to the back line, and it went haywire. And I think that really hasn't highlighted the issues that he's got. He does give the ball away a lot more. Now, he didn't lose possession a lot, but his pass accuracy wasn't up there. And it's the 25%. I think, let me see if I've got his stats here for you. I think I do. Where are we? Here we are here. This is his match stats in the game. He had 75% pass completion, and it's the 25% where's that going? It's the ball's being turned over, and that's definitely the concern for me. 100% with Tommy Soucek. Soucek gets a 3 from James, a 4 from Narky. I think some of his game, I can't mark him too low because some of his game stats are really good. He won a lot of ground duels. He won a lot of aerial duels. It's just the 25% of his game is teetering on rubbish and really lacking. So 75% of his game is quality and 25% of his game is awful, and there's no happy medium. If he could bring that back up to the standard, then he'll do all right. But I don't know what's going on here with him. Safal and Soucek can sod off saying probably got like care. Gets a 7, Soucek a 6, Soucek a 4 from Peter, Soucek a 5. Goodbye, Soucek. James Bong 6. Artel gives him a 4. Alan Dunn 4. You get a 1 from Hammerhead, 4 from Gaiman. Soucek 2. He was awful and he's been for a while. Soucek is a wasted position. He wasn't class. He gets a 3. My word, loads of low scores. I've given him a 5. Like I said, I think 75% of his play was okay, but it's the 25% of it that's awful. Maybe you could mark him down another one from there if you really wanted to, but something definitely does need to change. And I think he's one of the positions we're definitely going to be looking at moving forward as well. Now, let's move on to Jared Bowen. He's not had a fantastic start to the season. His form has dipped so far this season. It's been poor, and many people are calling for him to be rested and dropped in the team as well. Now, he did grow into the game a little bit, but what we're lacking from Jared Bowen is his all-round play. He's not supporting anyone on the right-hand side when he's playing. He's not supporting Vladimir Soufal. He's really lacking that cut edge, that cutthroat, that breaking the lines, cutting through the defenses and shooting. And every now and then he had a couple of chances in the game, but he's just not looking himself. And I think, yeah, you could say Moyes has got favourites, and maybe Jared Bowen could fall into that category. But I feel like maybe we need to just watch this situation and work out how can we nurture and how can we utilise Jared Bowen right now in the team, because throwing him into the firing line when things aren't working and we're getting no creativity and he's not helping out defensively is not going to help Jared Bowen and West Ham either. So I'll let you know what I scored him. It's probably one of the first times I've actually given him a 5. I don't think I've ever really given him a 5, but he's getting a regular 5 this season, left, right, and centre. So Bowen gets a 5 from Martel. William gives him a 5, not awful, barely productive. Bowen, plenty of endeavour, but just not the end product. 5 from Ludders. Narky gives him a 6, had an average game. 5 from Sharky. James gives him a 4. Kieran says Bowen 4, clueless. 2 for Bowen and 2 for Fornals. That's 4 of the team had given a 2. God, that's really low scoring, isn't it? Bowen 3, talk of Liverpool, Arsenal, and Nations League games has affected him big time. And a bit like what Russ said, he's in the World Cup squad. He's in the squad for England right now. It's his position to lose. He needs to step up, and he needs to step up immediately after this international campaign as well. Bowen also limited by Sefal now. The teams have backed off us. Bowen is a worry, not so bad when we've played 1 or 2 players out of form, but with as many as we have, Moyes not dropping them. It's a joke. I agree with you there. Yeah, players need to be not, They need to understand that they can't keep performing if that's where they're at. Bowen 5, he looks like a bit lost at the moment. One of the few of the old faithful that I have confidence in going forward. Art Sparley, Bowen gets a 4. 50% of the chat gave Bowen a 4. Yeah, 50%. That's a really low score for Bowen. Poor man motivation from Moyes. He seems clueless how drive to creative talent. Bowen gets a 6, but only because he's one player we'd have who can really turn a game over. Bowen is slowing, looks heavy. 5, trying hard to please Moyes. He was a passenger, and how he wasn't subbed, I don't understand. Bowen gets a 3 from Alan Dunn. Needs benching and has to look at his performances. Won't be going to the World Cup. 5, but the system did suit. I hope. It looks like he needs too much time. Let me move on to Paqueta. Paqueta, our record signing Brazilian star that came in, and there were some concerns in the lead up to the game from a not great tag. Well, do you know what? I've seen it. It's not. It was just a game of get the ball from the opposition player, and Antonio collided with Paqueta, and he was brought off on, I think it was the hour mark. When he came off. But to be honest, I feel sorry for Paqueta right now because he is a player that plays with movement up top. You need to have players that move. And when Paqueta's playing, if you join me at 5 o'clock, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The staticness up top, the Antonio staticness, the Bowen staticness. There was nothing there. The minute we made the substitutions, all these players started darting across, Scamacca making forward runs, Cornet making darting runs. Even Bowen was starting to make a few of the darting runs as well. So he needs to have game time alongside creative players. He will absolutely come into his own alongside those creative players. But he wasn't at the races in this game. I feel sorry for him for that. He did lose the ball a few times, but you could see at some points he gained the ball, tried to drive forward, and lost track of the game, really. And that's why I've scored him a 5. I feel bad for saying it because he's only a new player to West Ham, but I don't think he deserved it at all. Football Whiteboard gives him a 5. Audi gives him a 6. Peter gives him a 4. James Bond gives him a 5. Usual Suspect gives him a 6. Audi gives him a 6. Moyes is so contradictive. Won't promise game time to potential new signings, yet gives it to the poor players regardless. I tell Pac-Man 5 to 6. Moyes hasn't got a clue how to play him and get a player around him. Alan Dunn says Paqueta can't do much when we have no forward. 5. Ralph is saying Pac-Man 5 playing as a defender is not what we need. Paqueta has been poor, but he's because of Moyes playing so negatively. I guess again, Moyes' system stifles Pac-Man as well. 50% of the chat gave Paqueta a 5. And there you go. There is Paqueta's scoreline. Let's move into the final few players. Pablo Fornals. I've been one of his favourites. He's one of my favourite players. I think he's fantastic. But he was brought in the side to do a lot of the dirty work, and he didn't manage to get any really of the dirty work done. Here's his stats for the game. 87% pass completion. He only had 1 from 5, 1 successful accurate cross. Excuse the spelling mistake in there. From 5 attempts, he was not successful in any dribbles. He only won 2 from 11 ground duels, and he lost possession 15 times. When you're bringing in a Pablo Fornals into that midfield, you're needing those stats to be up. That's why you're bringing him in there. And I think, unfortunately, he did not have a good game for West Ham alongside many of the other players that we have in the team. So put your ratings in for there. I've given him a 5, just a solid 5. He could have given him a 4. Maybe I've given him a 5, marked him up because I love him, the Spanish Cockney. I think he's still got room for improvement, absolutely. And I think he needs to be utilised in a better position in the team and not just be thrown out there on the left to do all the donkey work. And sometimes it just doesn't work as well. Hammerhead, these comments keep jumping. Where are we? Hammerhead is saying Fornals was very poor and played out of position. 4, but I can't blame him. Fornals gets a 6. Fornals is not a winger and wasted on the left. Need to find a place for him in the middle or bring him on as an impact. Fornals 4, he got bossed. Pack looked slightly off the pace still when he was trying to turn or go past people. He looked slightly slow, needs more game time. Peter is giving him... Oh man, Russ, if you are watching this, this is jumping left, right, and centre. Fornals gets a 4. El Cockney, Sharky gives him a 4. He bottled it so many times, a 2. Wow, that's a low score. Fornals 3-4. Moyes would give him a 9 for a headless game. 74% of the chat gave the Cockney Carzola a 4. Wow, it's a low score for Mr. Pablo, isn't it? Last but not least is our main man who started the game, and that is Antonio. Now, listen, he was an unused substitute midweek against Silkeborg, and he scored in his last 2 appearances ahead of facing Tottenham, and he has had very little service up front, often been feeding off a lot of scraps and long balls, but to his credit, his hold-up play and his running the channel were good at times. He was drawing fouls out of the opposition players, but the biggest issue really was his positioning in the game. I can't score him highly for anything else, but equally though, it's not his fault. I think he has the potential be managed. He's been managed in terms of game time, but he needs to be managed in the game and supported in the game. And he does drift out to the left, but his decision making as a forward isn't up to the standard of a natural born finisher. And I think that really does impact him sometimes in the game, especially when he's heading like he's leading the line from the front. You need that vision up there, and that's why I've given him a 6. I think he gets a 6 for all his hard work rate. And I just felt really sorry for him. I really did. It was a shame, but I do agree. I don't think he needs to start the games. I think I would rather him be a impact substitute as well. Peter gives him a 4. Luthers gives him a 6. Antonio's an impact sub if we need to go 2 up top. Sharky gives him a 5. 7 from Antonio. He tried. You feel sorry for him. You give him a 6. Garbahama gives him a 6. Antibiotics. Antonio does what he usually can with the system. 6. Have I heard that Antonio is selected again for Jamaica? He is. Artel, Antonio gets a 5-6. Lack of service to him. Just jumping all the time. Where is that comment? 34% of chat gave Mark Henry a 5, 31% a 6. So it's tight. But yeah, he definitely needs support up there. Now, I am going to bring in the substitutes for this game because I think they were vital and maybe had a positive impact in the game. So the first one up is Max Corney. I'm calling for this guy to start. It's ridiculous. 5 o'clock. I absolutely go into really strong detail of what he does and what difference he makes in a West Ham team. And this is why he does need to start. He is a front, progressive, on his toes footballer who knows where the net is, he knows where the goal is, and he's a game changer. He bridges the gap between the midfield and the striker. He helps us up top, and we need players like him up there. That's why, for a short time that he came on the bit off, he was unlucky not to get more minutes. I gave him a 6, but I think if he'd have played the whole game, I think his scoreline would have been a lot higher, and we potentially could have progressed in that game a lot better. Corney gets a 6 from you, Sharky. I tell tactical netness from Moyes is killing us, and the new talented player. Corney, 7, positive direct running and makes good off the ball runs. Absolutely. Corney gets a 7 just. Stephen gives him a 7. Corney, 4, very clumsy like Antonio. I don't see it, Irons. I don't. You're entitled to your opinion, but I don't see it at all. Artel, Corney 7 direct. James Bond, Corney 7. Luthers 6. Corney 7 should have started. And of course, at the West Ham Network, from the poll that's going out there, Corney, 40% of people give Corney a 6. Has to start. Moyes needs to kick on the balls if he doesn't. Corney 5, headless chicken at times and struggles. I say, Peter, I don't see it. The 2, he was marked offside 3 times in the game against Silkeborg, and only one of them was a proper offside. The other 2 were never offsides. He's got a lot of energy. Corney 6 should be an anchorman for us. He gets the proper game time. Stuart Russell definitely 6-7, has a lot of energy. It's concerning that we can't score and can't defend. Hence, that's why we are where we are in the table. So let's move on to Ben Rama, the next player. He's left out of his country's up and coming national game as well. So he came closest to scoring for West Ham when he came on the park. When he hit the post, a curling left shot, hit the bottom left hand side of the post. He showed a bit of good speed, nice link up play as well. He came on for Paqueta, which I didn't like, but maybe it was precautionary. But you know, I'm just a bit worried that he's starting off the season really well. Now he's not getting any game time. But how do you fit these players in? That's down to Moyes to manage. I personally gave him a 6. I thought he was quite impactful off the bench, and he is a player that we maybe need to utilise a lot better than what we do. Benny 6-8 if that goal goes in. Ben Rama again added vim to the game. Benny gets a 6, unlucky not to score. Benny gets a 6 from Dax. Benny gets a 2 for that corner. Benny 6 should have scored. Audi says a 7. 52% of people gave him a 6 in the chat. He needs to be on the left with Corney on the right. 6. Ralph gives him a 6. He was being totally demoralised by Moyes. Too much coulda, shoulda, woulda with Benny. Yep, I get that as well. And I'm going to move on to the last one, and that is Scamacca. What do you rate Scamacca? Listen, for me, don't know why he didn't come on. Don't know why he didn't start. Don't know why he didn't come on with the other 2 substitutes to make the impact. I think it's going to take him time if this is how Moyes is going to utilise him. But if Moyes starts him, why the hell are you not starting Scamacca? You need to start Scamacca. He needs to be put into that team from the start. He makes good runs. He's got good vision of the game. He's got a good forward sense. You've seen what he's capable of against Silkeborg. He gets the ball. He turns and he shoots, a bit like Mapai. That's what we need. We need someone who can turn it on, I don't think his performance was great for West Ham, but it's a shame that he's been put into that situation. He came on, he had a bit of time, he got a booking, he gets a 5 from me, but he never had enough time to impact the game, and that's where I think it's a shame that he should. Ludders has given Scamacca 6. Scamacca starting to show his frustration. The whole club needs to kick up the arse at the moment. Scamacca gets a 5 from you. Benny does do some good things, but should never take corners. 6. Artel Scamacca. Moyes is pissing him off with poor tactics and support. Richard Stephen. Scam 5 looked a bit scrappy, but he needs to bloody start. 6 for Scamacca. It's tiring watching the same out of form players and expecting wins. You can say that again. Maka needs to start, but Moyes doesn't seem to think so. He does. I agree with you. He does. Artel gives him a 6. Scamacca, 38% is a 6 from the West Ham chat. 6. He deserves more time. Scamacca gets 6 from Dax. If Audi says if Antonio should be an impact up as suggested, who plays Moyes' system? Mancini said Scamacca will take time to settle in. I've seen that, but he will take time to settle in if he doesn't start. And his substitute appearances, you need to make impacts in the games, and I think that's where he potentially can. There you go. There's your ratings. There's your views, opinions, everything. I've been on for 53 minutes, so I massively appreciate you coming on and joining me in the live chat. We've had Luke on as a guest as well, which is really cool, giving us your opinion. We have loads of stuff coming up your way. Tonight at 5 o'clock, we have the Hammers headlines. It's an analysis show. You will enjoy it. I've taken snippets of the game and showing you visuals of what we should or shouldn't do. I mean, who am I? I'm Anton sitting here. I know Emerson came on. I never scored him. I just didn't think it was right to score him because he only had like 1 minute of an appearance. But join us at 5 o'clock for the Hammers headlines. Tomorrow we'll have I'll ask you about that. Well, do you know what? Put Moyes' go on. Score Moyes. Out of 10. Give me Moyes' score. There you go. So tomorrow you'll have another West Ham Daily, another Hammers headlines. And then tomorrow evening is the relaunch of Gift of the Gab with 2 new presenters coming out to you each week. 11 p.m. start. It's a late one, but we're trying to address everyone from all over the world, wherever you are, if you watch. So please tune in at 11 o'clock and give the 2 new presenters, hint, hint, wink, wink, the best start to the life of this show. So it's going to be good. So make sure you do join them tomorrow evening as well. The following day, we do have an ex-pro. I've given you little bits of hints and tips. Ex-West Ham, ex-Scotland International, formerly of Everton, formerly of Liverpool, formerly of Sunderland, if I've got that right, and current pundit for West Ham. So make sure you do join us for the live Q&A. as well on Thursday evening. So much stuff coming your way. If you are new around here, please make sure I don't know what you're talking about, Peter. I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. Thank you for joining us. Moyes gets a 4. Moyes gets a 7 for all the -7 for all the negative tactics of the season started as well. Lawrence gives him a 5. Hate to say it, but he gets a 3. David gives him a 4. -5 from Martel. I will enjoy my Mars bar salad, Anton. I will. Don't you worry. Sharky gives him a 3. James Bond gives him a 4. What about Moyes? Anton, he gets a 2. Peter gives him a -5. You give me a 10 for my effort. Much appreciated. Hit the likes, boys and girls. Thanks, Anton, as well. But listen, thank you for joining us. If you are new around here, hit that subscribe button. Of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. If you want to become a channel member, you can click on the membership program as well. And sometimes, we always like to thank the members, but today I'm going to thank all our partners and sponsors on the show. Keep your comments coming in. Let us know your feedback. See you at 5 o'clock. Come on, you Iron.
Yeah.